What's up, everybody? Welcome to Del Boca Vista, the show where we are going through the entire series of Seinfeld from the beginning to the end, discussing every episode in excruciating detail.
Emphasis on excruciating.
For sure. What's up, Adam? How are you doing?
I'm good today, man. How are you?
Good. Okay, before we jump in here, Adam was mentioning that he has a delicious beverage. Adam, want to tell us a little bit about what you have there?
This is a homemade frozen peach margarita coming at you live from my basement.
That sounds so freaking delicious, I swear.
It is pretty good.
And I'll tell you what, peach is a flavor you don't get enough stuff of, in my opinion. I'll tell you what, my kids love like fruit in general. They've always loved fruit. Fruit flavored sodas. There's a lot of varieties out there. A lot of them are really not great, but when you find the really good ones, it's like, oh yeah, we found a sun-kissed peach soda one time. And holy hell, was it delicious. But we never seen it again since, though. So
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
I've heard of Sunkissed, obviously. But
right.
Just not the peach version.
When people think of Sunkissed, they typically think orange, obviously. But yeah, Sunkissed peach. Holy hell. I've drank this before on the Beer Clock podcast. I have a Nitro Milk Stout. I never even noticed that. America's Stout. So yeah, back off every other stout maker. This is America's Stout, apparently. This beer is always kind of a cool one to show off because you're supposed to hard pour it. So you just flip this thing upside down and it glug, 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 glug. I cut it off just on time. But watch what happens here.
It cascades.
Got that freaking delicious, thick, foamy head on it, bitch, and it tastes so damn good. So yeah,
in the Cuphead mug, no less.
Yeah, in the Cuphead mug, exactly. I should have had Mugman. I have a Mugman mug cup as well. Maybe that would be more appropriate with a beer. But
have you ever played Cuphead before?
Have I? Yeah.
Yeah, a great game.
It is a great game. So we're back this week with a little bit more Seinfeld for you guys, obviously. Male Unbonding. We've been talking about this episode for weeks because this was technically episode 2, but they shuffled them around, and rightfully so, I think, because I think this is not a strong second episode of a series that you're hoping to get picked up, by a network, television network. Right. By a TV network. I have not yet given this episode Ovaltines in my mind. We'll do that later. But I as we discuss this, I'm going to develop my opinion, but I really feel like this one's going to be down there for me.
This was kind of a snoozer.
Yeah. We'll talk about the snooziness in a minute here because but you're right. It's a bad episode of Seinfeld. Is still better than a lot of other shows. I'd rather watch this than probably any episode of Friends, but I'll probably get some hate for saying that. But
how could he say something so controversial and so brave?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I'm a brave man, so I'm going to drink some of this beer. So, starting out the episode, obviously, with a stand-up scene. Now, let's think about this actually in proper order, though, because, again, technically this is episode number 2. Remember, we talked about the stand-up in episode 1. Main difference is, you notice, is episode 1 stand-up sequences were very long. I think they really kind of quickly realized we don't need that much of it. Now, there are still more stand-up sequences, I think, in this episode than you see in, like, say, season 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But they were still not nearly as long in length. But men are drawn to tools / work is basically the premise there. Is this true for you at all? I'm only going over if there's a cooler a beer, maybe. But
yeah, like I kind of identify it in the sense of like I've definitely been the guy like in the background with the beer, like asking the dumb questions, like, so what are you using a Phillips head?
Asking the dumb questions.
And I know he says it later in a later stand-up when he's going back to it, I think. But he's like, where the guy like tests the strength. He's like, yeah, that'll hold. You know, like, I mean, there's a meme that it's like, white dudes love going up and giving things a yank and being like, yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Right.
And like, that's so true. Like, I mean, I've definitely done that. And so, like, I kind of identified with the whole, like, the spectating part of it, but what I did identify with is how I'm eager to get over there, like where I open the window and I'm like, oh my god, Honey Bob's working on something, I gotta get over there.
Yeah,
do that.
the guy's pressed up against the window. He mentions that. Yeah, it's a humorous image. Something that I was thinking of as they were talking about this is like, I imagine this being a lot more true to life 30 years ago than now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, maybe that's a bad thing, a good thing. I don't know. Because the world has changed a lot. But my main thought in saying that that's probably more true to life then as opposed to now is like, we have constant access to cool no matter what now. So it's like, is there really all that much reason to be just standing out in your front yard waiting for someone to start working on something and then go talking to them as they do it?
And then just watch and not help and offer any help in any way, but just stand there and drink beer.
Yeah. Exactly.
I kind of attributed it to the whole, like, the King of the Hill, like, thing in the beginning where they're all just standing around drinking beer. They're just like, yep. Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. This is one thing. I love King of the Hill, by the way. We could easily do a show about that. But just have you ever actually just sat and thought of like how lucky Hank and those guys are to live on a street with 4 of their closest lifelong friends all within 100 yards of each other? It's like,
well, that's what happens in cartoon world.
Oh,
Steve.
True. Yeah. It doesn't happen in the real world. Yeah.
At all.
Neighbors. I'm pretty sure one of my neighbors is selling drugs. The other one is a really great guy, but I never see him because he works odd hours. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I also, the only 2 cool neighbors we had both moved. So now we're like the last ones left.
I've been meaning to point this out for the last couple episodes, so I'm going to point it out now. And if you're someone who has been watching the episode from the beginning, first of all, thank you for watching. Second of all, tell your friends. And third, make sure you press that like button and leave us a comment because we ask a lot of questions in here to you guys and we love reading the things you guys write. So anyways, make sure you do that. But the thing I've been continually meaning to mention that I keep forgetting, and I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but if you haven't, go back and watch. You need to watch the audience shots very closely in these stand-up sequences. Where, remember, we already realized how stupid we were in saying that, like, yeah, they never show the audience. It's always Jerry. Well, then it's like we're 3 different episodes where they show them. But when it shows the shots of the audience, watch that closely because they reuse shots a lot. Like there's this one shot of this one woman who kind of does this thing where she laughs and her head's like this or whatever. They've used that shot in like 4 different episodes or 3 different episodes or something. Yeah. So if you go back and watch those episodes, you'll notice that they reuse shots frequently. I mean, it's not like constantly the same ones over and over again, but like there's this one shot of this one woman, for example, that it's in like 3 different episodes. So anyways, something to look at. Did you have anything else to say about the stand-up scene?
Men are kind of like cavemen, I guess, is one thing that I'll touch on in his later stand-up about this, is that, like, we only want to be around work and macho stuff. Like he kind of touches on that later, but yeah, I kind of get the sense that Jerry just thinks that man is just primitive caveman in some aspects.
I wonder, it's funny because I've listened to a lot of Seinfeld stand-up, and he doesn't do a lot of, this is kind of a man's man sort of joke, right? Yeah. We're talking about tools and he mentions a Phillips head and, but anyways, like, and then like the average male Neanderthal sort of thing, kind of Tim Allen-y almost. But it's like that area of humor is not one that where Jerry spends a lot of time.
Right.
It almost makes me wonder. It's like, those jokes are very un-Seinfeld-y. That was the way that culture thought about men back then. If they were to do the exact same joke now, like I don't know that our culture views men in the same way.
But then he also takes it the other way in that one episode where the women are just writing all the checks, and they're so good with the checkbook and all that. It's like the other side of it. You got the macho-ism with the dudes, and then like the stay at home spending all the money trope with the wives and wives, not wives, but
I'm not editing that out.
Please don't.
Did you notice that there's something in, I forget, it's in the Mario episode. You're like, please edit this out. And
and you're like, yeah, I'll be sure to do that. And then like a little thing pops up. I didn't do it.
I didn't. No, I'm not gonna do that. Make sure you watch our Let's Plays. They're very good. But no, yeah, both of those perspectives of like the woman with the checkbook spending all the money and the husband going off and working and fixing things and working with tools and all that.
Yeah.
Those are both very 90s ways of viewing those things, but the show was made in the 90s, so that kind of makes sense. But But anyways,
yes, they're in Jerry's apartment, which I thought was a rare glimpse into the inside of Jerry's building. I don't know if you ever really get to see the hallway, the elevator, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, standing there waiting for the elevator, and then they get on the elevator. I don't think that, no, I guess I was going to kind of mention the same episode again, but like there's the episode where the guy has the bird, and he locks himself out of his apartment out of the apartment building, and Jerry won't let him in because they've been told to be careful, not let people in that don't live there, and he doesn't know that guy, and turns out the guy lives right down the hall from him and stuff. Like in that episode, you see the lobby, you see the elevator. I don't know that there is a shot in the elevator with the bird guy, and then there's a shot in the elevator with George in this episode. I'm not going to say that there are no other shots inside the elevator in any other episode. It's certainly possible, but we'll just say that there's very few of those. You don't see a whole lot of the building outside of just Jerry's apartment. Now, they seem to experiment with that a lot more in these early episodes, because here, of course, in this episode, we see the lobby, we see the elevator. Then as you go down, there's you see the hallway and stuff, and I think that in the next season, I believe, is when we start. There's the Harold and Manny who manage the building apparently, or whatever. You see more hallway there and stuff, but this one is a little bit out of the ordinary in that you see some scenery that you don't normally see.
And it kind of makes you wonder why they didn't show more of it more often. Like what did they is there something about it that they didn't like? I mean, the building looks just as much the same as Jerry's hallway that you see all the time. So like, I mean, I don't know. It was just strange to me that they only show just a little bit of, because obviously people come and go in that apartment building all the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of rare to me. And it looks like they're coming back from dry cleaning as well. Got a really big thing for dry cleaning.
Yeah, they love the dry cleaning. Do you dry clean anything?
No, I don't know if I've ever dry cleaned anything.
When I used to wear suits at a job, and I would have those dry cleaned. But I mean, outside of that, I can't think of a single time I've ever dry cleaned. And these people are dry cleaning everything. And it's just like, are they just buying a bunch of shit that just needs dry cleaning treatment? It's just like, just stop buying that stuff. Good Lord.
I wish you would have said that like masseuse. I used to wear suits.
With suits. A masseuse. Oh, good Lord, that woman. Oh, well, I hate it so much. Watch our last episode to understand that. One of my least favorite lines from that episode,
in the entire series.
Yeah, if not, it's definitely my least favorite line in that episode, if not the entire series. It's the way that the waitress says, she's a masseuse. Oh, God, I can't even talk about it now. So yeah, Jerry and George waiting for the elevator. This is not the last time that we will see or hear George Louis Costanza bemoaning, telling a woman how he feels about them.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Are we supposed to know who the girl is in this episode?
I don't.
I'm like, okay, so if this was the second episode, is there something in the first one? Does he talk about he's dating someone in the first one, or?
Well, he certainly knew everything about women in the first one.
For sure. Which is why I thought that was so interesting that if this was the second episode, how they went from him doing all the relationship advice to him like, oh my God, Jerry, it's over. I told a girl how I feel and she's gonna leave me and he's a douche wearing a fanny pack and
Oh my
like all that
gosh,
kind
yeah,
of
the
stuff.
fanny pack.
Yeah.
The what was it? Looks like your belt is digesting a small animal. The one of many jokes in this opening sequence, in the lobby, on the elevator, and then into Jerry's apartment that didn't get big laughs. You can tell that it was supposed to be a funny comment, but it's just like you get a couple titters from the audience. But like, I just find that really interesting. I guess I should go on to talk about this because it ties in as well. But there was a sequence after they're into the apartment, and we're not going to skip forward to this. I'm just mentioning this because it's related. But like, once they're into the apartment, there is a space of like over a minute where there are no laughs, or no big laughs, at least. Like, you hear a couple chuckles from the audience, but it's like, think of how long a minute is, especially in the span of a TV show. That's like 5% of the entire show practically. And to have an entire minute go by where there are no big laughs in a comedy show, it's just it's really weird and uncomfortable. And that's what makes me hate that portion of this episode, is that first sequence where they're in the apartment with George and Kramer, and it's just like, oh wow, this is kind of painful.
Yeah. I wonder if there is with the fanny pack. I wonder if there's another. I'm sure we're gonna find out, but if there's another episode where George wears one, or if it is this, if this is the only instance in which it makes an appearance, and then Jerry busts his balls about it, and he's like, "You're right. Maybe I shouldn't wear it."
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. There is another fanny pack appearance, not by George.
By George.
But there is another fanny pack appearance coming pretty soon. We won't mention that yet today, but in another episode that we'll get to. But
we need to be on Fanny Watch for George and future episodes. Fannygate.
I'm not saying anything so I can make audio clips of that, because did you know that fanny in the UK means vagina? So we're like, we need to be on Fanny Watch. The fanny pack digesting a small animal doesn't really get a whole lot of remarks. Have I ever worn one?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Back in the 80s when I was a kid.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, when I was a kid. Now, of course, once I exited childhood, I'm like, this is pretty dumb looking. But
I feel like the fanny pack is the equivalent of the sweatshirt tied around the waist as well.
Yeah.
I did that. I did both of those as a kid. I wore the fanny pack as a kid and did the tying around with the sweatshirt. Wouldn't be caught dead doing either one of those things as an adult, though.
The tying of the sweatshirt, was that like, so you didn't have to carry your sweatshirt, but you didn't want to wear it? Or was that like an accessory? Like you were accessorizing?
Oh, it was certainly not for fashion.
Oh, not for fashion.
At the time.
Okay,
no, it was just so I didn't have
I'm hot. I don't want to carry this thing.
Yes.
I'm tying it around my waist. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't ridicule you then, because that just makes sense. It's like if you were like waiting for a sweatshirt that would go with a certain outfit and then tying that around your waist, I was gonna have to like give you a little bit.
I don't
of a hard
know
time.
if I had. I certainly didn't have that kind of fashion sense when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I was probably definitely rocking Power Ranger T-shirts, Teenage X-Men, those kinds of things.
For sure.
I did notice in Jerry's apartment that the box of baseball cards is on the fridge, and the small mini Porsche car is back.
It's back.
Which is weird.
Well, wait, hold on. Okay, no. It wouldn't be back. Well, it's back because this happened. Was filmed first. Yeah, that's a good call out though. I did not pay any attention to that. I did not notice the baseball cards. I did not notice the car. I did notice the giant cactus.
The giant
cactus is still there. That huge phallus of a cactus just poking up there in the corner.
Huge phallic cactus
towering over everyone in the apartment.
That callus, what was it? The phallus cactus will really give you a nice prick. Gotta be careful around it, though.
We're gonna have to epic maneuver that right there. So, do you carry floss, or have you ever carried floss?
Not on my person. I've certainly used it, but I've never carried it around with me in any kind of sense. You?
No.
You carry floss?
No. Now I will say, I mean,
Gonna say now. I was like, am I gonna be weird if I say no?
Well, no. Well, George, that's his whole thing in this is that he has.
Well,
the
George
floss in
is
his,
weird though.
Well, right, yeah. George has the floss in his pocket, and he's all concerned that she found. I don't get. Okay, was the floss used floss? I assume.
You get the impression that it was used.
Well,
right? I mean, otherwise, why would she be grossed out by it?
Yeah, and then this is another one of those things where it's like they're doing things in the show that make no sense. Now, I understand not wanting to be a litter bug, right? But if I use some floss and I'm just out in the world and there's no trash can around, I'm not carrying that around in my pocket. I'm just gonna throw it on the ground, and I don't care because it's a piece of floss.
Call me what you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not carrying around a used piece of floss. So
and
George,
floss is biodegradable, isn't it?
I would assume so.
It has to be.
Yeah. Actually, someone's gonna post like an article.
All this floss is in our oceans, and it's people like you.
Yeah, they got the seals where it's like their heads stuck in it or whatever, like those Coke bottle thingies. But yeah, the carrying of the floss I thought was really funny. George also mentions buying his date a container of orange drink in the lobby
for
at
$5.
For $5, yeah. First of all, $5 for a drink is a steep amount.
Especially in the early 90s.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I mean, especially you rewind to 30 years ago. It's pretty wild. But like this again is one of those things where they talk about it like it's something that everybody knows about, but orange drink?
Oh yeah, the orange drink.
What the heck is this? You know,
like high C? What are we talking here?
Well, okay, when you hear orange drink, what's the first thing you think of?
High C, orange lava burst.
Is that the orange, just the orange high C drink?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just know that because I've worked around it, and you know.
Now this may be the name, that's just the name of the same thing that I'm thinking of. But like, do you remember like back in the 80s when people would have birthday parties for their kids and they would get like that orange drink from McDonald's?
That's it.
That's what that is?
Thing.
It's the same thing? Okay. That's what I think of is like the orange drink from McDonald's. I don't think of anything from like a soda fountain or whatever. I think of those big orange cooler like things jugs, with the top that spins on and dispensing that orange drink in those little paper cups that you got probably for free when you got the big orange drink thing from McDonald's. I'm like, are these people catering from McDonald's? Like, how does that even work? I don't understand that. Yeah. My family never did that. We were not wealthy at all. So,
do you remember the milk chug drinks where it was like, it wasn't milk, it was like, you know, purple drink, orange drink, whatever, but they were in the shape of like little milk, like chug container things, and they had like the little aluminum foil top that you had to take off.
Are you thinking of the ones that were shaped like barrels?
Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
I thought they were called the things chugs, like CHUGs or something.
No, well, maybe there is one called chug, but I knew those. They were called Little Hug, and it's a little,
okay. Well, maybe that's it. But
it's a little plastic barrel with the colored drink in it. Yeah, whatever kind. Yeah, that stuff sucks, man. I don't know. Maybe it was great back then, but like we had, there's this family that like our kids are friends and blah blah blah. Well, anyways. The wife would always buy those for their kids, and they always hated like these particular colors. And they're like, "Hey, we're just gonna throw these out. Do you guys want these?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, we'll take them." You know, and I brought them home, gave the kids, and I'm like, "Why are these things here for so long?" I figured they would drink these like overnight. But I saw I peeled the top off of one of them and drank it. I'm like, this is freaking awful.
That's why.
That's why they have not finished them yet, because it's freaking terrible. Yuck. But yeah, the orange drink.
I feel like those are like something that you would look back with rose-colored glasses, you know, be like, oh man, I used to have these as a kid all the time. And you crack one, you take a big drink of it, and you're like, this is disgusting. I can't believe we drank these as kids, and throw it away and never go back to it.
Kramer, he's on the phone with Joel, which we don't know at the time, or Hornick. Jerry walks in. Kramer tries to hand him the phone. Jerry asks who it is. Kramer says, "It's for you."
It's for you.
not answering Jerry's question. And they do that a couple of times until Jerry finally takes the phone, finds out it's Joel, and then he's upset.
Oh, hey, Joel. I hate the way he says that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, hey, Joel. Like, he's like,
hey, Joel.
Oh, hi, Joel.
could you convey any more in your tone of voice that you do not want to talk to this person? It's like, ooh, man.
But which further drives home the fact, which I'm sure we'll discuss later, that Joel Hornick is the most clueless person on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
You know, either that or he's just living in denial, which is not just a river in Egypt.
Oh, boy, you are on today, sir.
On fire.
I hate it when people do this. When you ask them a point blank question and they give you, well, maybe they don't even give you an answer. They say something in response to you, but it has nothing to do with the question that you just asked. That drives me insane. And Kramer, this is back in early Seinfeld, when Kramer's still kind of an idiot. I mean, Kramer's an idiot in the later ones too, but in a different way. I guess I can't think of how to describe that. Maybe you have a better way to describe that, but yeah, Kramer's stupid in these older episodes, and it was by design. That's how they wanted to portray him until they figured out, oh, we actually need to make this guy kind of just an eccentric who could be a genius, could be an idiot, who knows.
I will say he's cleaned up a lot more in this episode.
Yeah.
Than the previous ones. Like when you first see Kramer in the pilot, he looks like a homeless person, you know, like that hasn't seen daylight in forever.
Yeah.
But he actually looks put together.
Yeah.
Kramer's got his life going on. He's got a cell phone, Kramerica Industries, you know. I want to call 555-8643. I want to call that and see what happens. I was going to last night, but I was like, what if this is actually somebody's number?
Well, I don't think I think that's why they use 555 is because it's like a decommissioned or an unused prefix or whatever.
See, I thought that, but I didn't know if it was going to be, if I was right in that, you know, and I don't know. I was like, this is going to be one of the times where I think I'm right. And then I'm just going to hear like, hello. Oh my God, sorry.
The fettuccine. Click and hang up on him.
The fettuccine. Yeah, so I wonder if it's a decommissioned number, I wonder if there is some kind of maybe some like an automated message or something that would play if you call it.
I don't know. I mean, there have been things that have done that, which kind of on topic but off topic. Have you seen the new trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Movie where it's the commercial for the Mario Brothers plumbing?
No.
Okay, you need to look for that. It's really good. I hate the term fun fact, so I'm going to say interesting fact. The woman who voices the woman in the commercial is the same woman who was the voice for Princess Peach in the Mario Bros. Cartoon from back in the day. So I thought that was pretty cool that they brought her back around. But no, anyways, the whole thing is a commercial for the Mario Brothers plumbing. And they have a website and a phone number that pop up on that, and I'm like, I bet you if you go to that website or call that phone number, something cool is going to happen. And I haven't done it yet. So
was that you that was telling me about the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie when it was coming out, how they had like that weird marketing campaign where it was like you had to call a number or it was like a website or something like that?
I just remember the whole thing with the Moonanites where there were people who like they were hanging up these light bright looking sort of neon thingies or whatever on like bridges and underpasses and stuff, and it caused like a whole hubbub of like people thought it was like terrorists and everything, and then come to find out it was just viral marketing for the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie.
Well, I thought there was something that you showed me where like you got something in the mail and like you called the number or something and it was like a really kind of eerie message that was left. It was like in some postcard. I feel like we talked about it on one of like the live podcasts that we did, or it wasn't you and it was something completely different entirely. But my mind's eye, it was from one of our old podcasts.
I think, but way back, we may have talked about, because I talked about this on stream back then, was the William Refrigerator Perry G.I. Joe, and how you had to like call a special number to be able to get that G.I. Joe. And I called that number like a bajillion freaking times and could never get through to anyone. And then I recorded a TikTok of looking at I'm gonna splice that in right now. Oh, I wanted this so freaking bad. William Refrigerator Perry, G.I. Joe. Boy, look at his. He's got a very thin penis. Maybe it's on a diet. Maybe his on keto. The TikTok of talking about that freaking.
Hey, at least I wasn't
G.I.
like
Joe.
I didn't hear anything.
I didn't hear. I know, Adam, because I'm gonna edit it in later.
I know, Adam.
Adam Blunder. But yeah, I think this is the only time in the series where Kramer actually reveals his phone number. So I thought that was kind of an interesting little thing.
Which is like as big of a conspiracy person as he is, you'd be surprising to me that he's willing to just like broadcast that information out. Yeah,
give it out to Joel Hornick over the phone, right?
There seems to be a lot of confusion over what Wednesday the Knicks game is on.
Yeah,
throughout the episode.
I have a point about that, and it basically just says like, I really get the feeling like they thought this confusion over Wednesday was gonna get big laughs.
Right.
And it absolutely did not. Like they made that same joke 2 or 3 times and like it never went anywhere.
I know. Do these people just have a hard time grasping the concept of events that happen in the upcoming week?
Right. No, like, if I said this Wednesday, I would have said this Wednesday. Or however how he says it. But,
yeah, like I guess of all like you said, they just take so many weird things. Like why the floss in the pocket? Why the whole like no, it's next Wednesday. Oh, ha, ha. Like that's not like a common thing that happens. What the fuck? I'll tell you. So I have I have Kramer's giant cell phone because my God, that thing looks
huge, right?
Enormous. But I guess really, that's how big they were back then, though. That's not out of place, Like remember the old car phones in the '90s too that were gigantic like that.
Yeah.
It's just funny how like. The big joke now is like how big computers used to be and how small they are now. But like just when you look at it from like even something as a cell phone, man, those things were gigantic and they're so small.
Yeah, for sure. No, I never watched this show back in the day, but I know me and my wife were really close with this other couple, and they were super into the show West Wing. Well, this was years ago. But after that couple had like moved away and stuff, sadly. But like, I was browsing Netflix trying to find something to watch, and I see that they put West Wing on Netflix. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch West Wing, and oh my gosh, the archaic, outdated technology that you see in West Wing is fantastic. It's just like I remember them talking about like faxes being preferable to email. It's like okay.
Said no one ever, by the way.
Right. Or like cell phones just being freaking massive. Anyways, if you want to take a trip down technology memory lane, go watch the first few episodes of the West Wing.
Are beepers still a thing in the West Wing?
Oh, beepers,
people get paged. Yeah.
Beepers, yep. I did not. Did you have a beeper? I didn't have a beeper.
I did have one, yeah.
You did? Oh, you were.
I did.
Man.
I mean, I don't like to brag, but
he's like, "Oh, hold on,
people paged me.
Let me untie this sweater from around my waist so I can check my beeper."
For a second, you thought I was gonna be lame, but booyah!
Oh my god!
Hold on, guys, I have to go. I've been paged.
Yeah. Gotta call my parents back in 10 minutes or I'm in big trouble.
That's pretty much all that it really was. I think. I don't
just for your parents.
Yeah, just hold on, guys. I gotta check in with my parents real quick.
I like that voice. Now
that's my young Adam voice.
Young Adam. I'm a little busy now. Can we talk Wednesday morning? Is a genius move by Jerry, in my opinion. Because it gets you off of the phone in that moment because clearly he was not wanting to talk to this guy. But it also puts off conversation until Wednesday morning. I mean,
And then you have enough time to think about what excuse to use Wednesday morning to get out of that.
Right. Yeah, I remember watching this back when I very first started prepping for the episode, like weeks ago, when I thought that this was the one we were going to talk about, and being like, "Oh, that is so smart." It's not that there's anything in there that stops that person from talking to you before Wednesday, but it kind of puts, I don't know, a little bit. We're going to talk on Wednesday. We're not talking before that. We're going to talk on Wednesday, and I'm busy right now, so we're not talking now. Getting out of conversations with people. I spend a lot of time thinking about that and coming up with my own plans. And Jerry's already got it on lockdown 3 decades ago.
So the only thing that I haven't touched on is with this scene is I was going to ask you personally, and also the Legion. Would you rather be like blunt in a situation like this, or are you a person that like you kind of go around and be like, oh god, I hate talking to this guy, but like I'll keep doing it, and like I'll keep like coming up with the we'll talk Wednesday, you know, versus just being like the, hey man, like, you know, it's been cool hanging out, but it also hasn't, so you go this way, I'll go that way, and then like it's done, you know, and then you don't have to do it anymore.
Giving him the Pablo treatment. Isn't Pablo,
yeah.
Isn't he the guy who cleans the pools or whatever?
I don't know.
You know, from Seinfeld, the guy who tries to become Jerry's friend, and Jerry basically tells him, I already have friends. And he's like, it's because I clean pools. And we're going to edit all this out. Okay, so to answer your question. I don't know
that episode. But yeah, but to answer your question, because I feel like you're either one of those people. You know, like, you either deal with the situation as is and it's over, or you know, you kind of dance around it forever and you just live in misery.
I've never really been in a situation like that before. I kind of feel like I'm that person on the other end, and they're like, how do I tell this guy that I don't want to hang out with him anymore? No. But I've never really been in a situation where, because I had this written down too, where I was going to ask you, like, have you ever had to break up with a friend, you know? And basically, like you're saying, you know, say like, hey, it's been cool, I just don't really think we need to hang out anymore, or you know, we're not on the same page, or yada yada yada. I don't know, I've never been in that situation. As a streamer, I've had to message people privately when like maybe they cross a boundary or something on stream, and some people I've had to do that multiple times with, and that's always super comfortable. But to me,
it's right here, Steve.
Right. But to me, I would rather do that and be straightforward. This is where I'm kind of relating this to your question here. I would rather do that and be straightforward and make sure that there's no ambiguity there than to just leave it and let it become a festering issue. Because there have been times where I'm like, oh, they'll just figure it out and you know, read the room and blah, blah, blah. But I assure you, there are some people who are absolutely oblivious to what's going on in the rest of the room and will continue to be an asshole until you tell them, hey, bro, stop being an asshole in my stream. I promise you, there will come a point like that eventually. Now, I've been in the game for 4.5 years now, so I've had a lot more opportunities for that. But in those situations, yeah, I would rather just do it. But to go back to your original question, though, I've never really had to do that with a friend necessarily.
No, I haven't really either. Now I've had like some friendships over the course of my life that have just like not really happened just because like you just don't generally make the effort to, you know, continue hanging out. So then like you see each other less and less, and then after a while, like you just don't anymore. You know?
That was exactly what I was just thinking. Is I have had some relationships kind of fizzle out. And I think that it sort of resolves itself naturally like that, because eventually the fact that you guys are not on the same page or the same wavelength or whatever is going to come into play, and it will slowly cause you to distance from one another, and nobody may even have that intention, but it'll happen. Now I think the difference here though is like with Hornick, for example, he clearly had nobody else in his life, and he makes that statement even when they're in the restaurant and stuff, when Jerry is quote unquote breaking up with him. like he talks about how there's no one else, I don't have anyone else I can talk to, and blah 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 blah. And so, like, because of his lack of having anybody else, I can't think of a better way to say that, he's constantly the one who's calling Jerry and stuff and making plans and blah blah blah. And Jerry's just kind of sitting there on the receiving end, letting it happen to himself, you know. So, anyways, not really an answer, I guess, but there's content.
Oh, yeah! There's content. I mean, I'm bad at confrontation, so I think if I were in the same situation as Jerry, I would probably do exactly what Jerry does.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would get so far as to attempt the breakup and then like have to backpedal
out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think I would just be the guy that would just be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna hang out with this guy again next Thursday. But, you know, it is what it is, you know, and that would just be my life. And hopefully the fizzling happens. We hope for the fizzle, Jerry.
Yeah.
We hope for the fizzle.
Exactly. You know, and it's one of those things where I don't think very many people really have that, you know, any sort of like talent or skill for handling those sort of conversations. So a lot more people are.
I mean, some people are just brutally blunt though, and have no problem telling people how they feel at situations like that.
Well, like, I've encountered that with people who just don't give a fuck, and like,
right,
I'm gonna have to edit that out. and they are gonna say whatever, no matter whether it rocks the boat or not. But I don't know that I've encountered a whole lot of people where I would say that about them, and also think that they would have the balls to do that with someone that they were once friends with. Because you know, you're also thinking like, these are people who were legitimate friends at one point. I mean, well, maybe they have more history than they do friendship, because Jerry, even going back to when they were children,
say, I mean, he pretty much only brings up the fact that they were friends when he was 10. You know?
Yeah, and it's more that they have a lot of history together. I would have been friends with Stalin if he had a ping pong table.
Yeah, it's
which
not like
in
they
itself
were like
I thought was pretty funny.
College and they hung out all the time, you know, or whatever. Like, he wasn't in Jerry's wedding or anything. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a childhood friend. So maybe it's just like, oh God, I still have to hang out with this guy.
It's got to be hard to do. Yeah, it's got to be hard to do that with someone who you've been friends with for a long time, because like, I am still good friends with, like, I would say my two best, I'm trying to think back, my two best friends from childhood. And I mean, we don't hang out all the time or anything, but like when I'm down, I like to visit them and, you know, go get coffee or whatever. And, good Lord, I couldn't think of course, I live far away from all of them, so the distance is there. But like, if I lived in town and I hated their guts, that would be really hard to have that conversation. So I
lived in town and then hated their guts.
Exactly. So now George here, he's concerned about missing the Nick game. And this is the first. What Wednesday? No, next Wednesday. Nobody finds this funny. I don't know if you know.
Myself.
No, I didn't either. But they have that line, and George is like, "Oh yeah," and then dead silence. And this is specifically that point where I mentioned there's like over a minute where without any big laughs. Like, you get a couple chuckles from people here and there, but like this particular sequence in the apartment is so freaking dead. It's crazy. Kramer gets a call from Mike. I wonder if this is the Mike who thinks Jerry's a phony. What's his last name?
Mike Moffat. Yeah.
The only reason why I ask you is because I know you said his name on a previous episode.
Yes.
But yeah, he gets a call from Mike, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that guy who gets his thumbs broken.
Oh, he was one of our characters in the Cult of the Vandalay.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes. Yeah. Go back and watch our Cult of the Lamb episodes, and you see the Cult of the Vandalay.
The Seinfeld Inception.
Yeah.
The Signception.
Signception. Yeah. Seriously, that was kind of what set us down this path of eventually doing this show. So Jerry bemoans his friendship with Joel, wondering how he can break up with him. And he's like, he's a guy. This line reappears in the New Friend episode. But Jerry, he's a guy. You know, the whole thing with Jerry and Keith Hernandez. He's a guy, and like Jerry not knowing how to navigate the relationship with another man,
helping him move, and is that the episode where he has to help him move and shit?
He tries to get him to help him move, but he's like, I can't do that. Yeah,
or you don't know him that well enough, or however they say.
He's a guy. There's so many of those things. Of course, it was a different world 30 years ago and all that, but like, the idea of a man having feelings for another man, like, was not even a thought. Like, that wasn't even on the table, you know. But like now, if you had that line in an episode of a TV show, it would make no sense, because it's like, what? Yeah, he's a guy. Well, you know, anyway, it's just interesting. This is one of those things where it's like, you can tell this is a show from the 90s. So now going on to more stand-up, much shorter stand-up scenes. Of course, we already mentioned that. Shots of the audience again, which oopsie. Yeah, those are definitely in more than one episode. The other thing I picked up on here, no background music at all in the stand-up segment. And it makes it feel kind of hollow. There's no or anything, you know, not even that, you know, obviously not the bass or anything, but it's like dead silent in that stand-up scene. I need to go back, because it's one of those things where it's like, you have to kind of pay attention, you know, like, yeah, I've watched all these episodes 1,000 freaking times, but it's like, did they do that in later episodes where there were stand-up sequences with no music? I can't remember, but it just feels
now I'm going to be
wrong.
like super conscious about it now. Every time there's a stand-up scene, I'm going to be listening for music.
Yeah. But the other thing too, though, is like, the stand-up sequences were usually, like, in the later episodes, rather, were in the beginning and at the end. They didn't do like any middle sequences like this. You have the stand-up, you have the music in the beginning because you have the intro. You have the music in the outro because the show's ending. But these middle segments, it's kind of like, what do you do with them? And then maybe that's how they felt about it at the time. It's like, we don't know what to do with this, so we're just going to do stand-up, you know?
So just play it. Just play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that I have for this whole stand-up thing is that, again, Jerry talks about men and just how, like, if we only talk about sports and women, if we're not talking about sports and women, the only thing we're saying is what's in the refrigerator.
What's in the fridge, yeah.
You know, because, you know, we're cavemen, and it's sports, women, food. Sports, women, food. That's like all we think about in our Neanderthal brains, you know, just on repeat.
Yeah.
And then whenever one's not an option, then it's just the other options that are there. It's like we can't think of anything new. It's like we're down to just food.
We're down to just food, boys. Sorry about that.
It's the only thing that we, as a whole group of people, can discuss at this point is just food.
Maybe if I would have been an adult in the 90s, I would have been like, sports, food.
I was gonna say, apparently there was nothing else to talk about back.
Very limited interest, but they did. Yeah, this is pre-internet times and stuff like that. Well,
see, you figure if anything, conversation, person-to-person conversation would be more evolved back then than it is now, because if anything, we're so distant from actually having real conversations anymore. You know, that there would be more to talk about in the 90s than there is now. But yeah, perhaps not.
Perhaps not.
Yep. So we're in the restaurant?
Yeah, we're in the restaurant. We've been in the coffee shop now. Of course, this is not accurate. I wrote in my notes here, first shot inside of Monk's. Now, of course, if this was actually the second episode, then that would be true. But it's interesting, though, because as far as they were shooting, this was the first episode inside of Monk's. They're not in their usual booth. The lighting is weird. I don't know if I had specifically had a note that the lighting is just weird. Like, it felt strange. I
did not pick up on a lighting.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's totally different than, you know, the standard Monk's coffee shop lighting. But yeah, they're not at their usual table. You know, the lighting is just strange. And they're talking about Lenny Bruce. Did you Google
I knew you were gonna love this.
Yeah,
I did have to Google it, and guess what?
Black and white photo.
Black and white photo.
Lenny Bruce died in 1966. Classic Seinfeld reference there, referencing something, a person who was dead decades before this show was even made.
And like, I didn't even know that was a real person. And like most of the other references, I at least know that they're human beings. You know what I mean? That like they were famous people.
Well, was it Ethel Merman? Like, you know the name Ethel Merman, even if you don't know who she is, you know.
Right. but I had never even like Lenny Bruce. That sounds made up.
Yeah.
You know, just from that one episode where they're talking about the first episode where they're talking about all the different names. But Lenny Bruce sounds like a name that could be made up.
Right.
Yeah.
He does have one of those like Ricky Bobby, like 2 first names.
Yes. Ricky Bobby, I love it.
I wrote down a couple of notes. Lenny Bruce, he was a Jewish comedian. Got in a lot of trouble for the guy was a loose cannon basically, but did a lot to pioneer freedom of speech rights and stuff for folks, but did it by being really, really profane. So whether how you
is there any other way?
Right. He got in trouble for using the word schmuck, an insulting Yiddish word that was also considered a term for penis, which I didn't know.
A schmuck? Wow.
Schmuck apparently is a term for penis in Yiddish. So
I did not know that. I learned something
I can
today.
call a Jew. Well, I guess I don't have to call only Jewish people penises, but they would know what I'm talking about. If I was like, yeah, schmuck. Oh, he said the penis word.
I've always used the term schmuck to be like, kind of just like a...
Like an idiot or a moron.
Like, yeah, or, somebody who's kind of lame or, whatever. Never went the penis route.
Yeah, no, me neither. And that's where I go by default. So it's for that not to be where I went with it is a little strange. Obviously, I didn't know that until today, but now that I know, knowing is half the battle. And I'm going to be using that all the time now. So.
Thanks, G.I. Joe.
All right. Hornick quickly becomes a piece of shit. Is there a real bird in the back? Asking about is it turkey or is it turkey roll? I'm
triggered by this whole conversation.
Me too, man. But you more so, I imagine, as a server.
Yes, because I've waited on pieces of fart noise like that.
Fart noise. Pieces of we'll edit that in.
I mean, I don't know if necessarily to quite that degree, but people that are just like I don't know. He's just very berating, I guess, and why don't you know this? Go find out for me, kind of thing.
Well, the thing that drives me nuts about it, or the main thing, I guess, that drives me nuts about it, a whole lot about it drives me nuts, but like, when people say things like that, they don't say it with the intent of doing anything to resolve the issue that's got them up in arms. They only do it to make the other person feel like, and it's like, it's not a productive way to interact with someone else. If he's upset, obviously, that they've had to wait for a few minutes, whatever that happens. Yeah, you can be a jerk about that if you want, I suppose. But like, as soon as she gets there, like he's got her under his thumb about the turkey. Yeah. Like didn't even give her a chance to try to resolve the issue for him before he just starts berating her. Anyways, you really quickly get the impression of who Joel Hornick is, and realize, oh my gosh, I want to break up with this guy.
I don't want to be this guy's friend either.
Yeah. And then
I'm just real quick about the therapist conversation. Did you notice that after he says Lenny Bruce, he says, oh, and Geraldo. And then everyone laughs at Geraldo. Why? Why was that? Why is that funny? Because like you said earlier, there's like a whole minute where nobody's really laughing. And I think this is just one of those things where people are laughing because they feel like they have to. Like Lenny Bruce and Geraldo. Like,
that's funny. I guess I'm
sure seeing a therapist.
Funny. Now that you're saying it, like I remember it. I can't like go back and remember what it sounds like, but I remember that happening. But it's like if you would have asked me before this, there's no way I would have remembered that. So it's kind of interesting you picked up on that line. But yeah, Geraldo was a big deal back then. Maybe that's...
Yeah, but him seeing a therapist, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it is definitely strange.
The crowd thought it was funny, so I guess
the crowd
whatever.
Loved it. The crowd loves some weird things in these early episodes.
They really do.
Making a bouillabaisse. Ha 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 ha! I'm like, why is that funny? No.
Yeah, and like this is the only thing that I'll say about it, just because I think it just relates to this. But I recently went to go see Adam Sandler live last week, and
oh really? Okay. I knew you were doing that.
It is true that when you see a comedy show, people laugh at anything, and the things that aren't even, I mean, things aren't even funny yet. It's not like the joke wasn't funny and people laugh anyway, but he would literally be like, "So I went to the store the other day. Man, I hate going to the store." And people start laughing. Like, why is that? Why is that funny? Like, if I was sitting back and I was just like listening to him talk, and he would legitimately just be telling a normal story and just the most mundane details of the story. Like, I'm in an arena, and there's an arena of and enough people in this arena are laughing at these mundane details, and I'm just like, do people even know what you're laughing at?
You should have stood up and said that really loud. Do you people even know what you're laughing at? I would love to see that.
And that's how I would have got my ass beat at US Bank Arena and asked to leave.
How many Ovaltines would you give the Adam Sandler show?
5.5 out of 10.
Oh wow, that's rough.
I didn't think it was very funny.
Yeah,
but that's time for a different episode. But I just thought it was funny that, you know, whenever you're at comedy shows, people just laugh because I feel like they have to, you know, at dumb things, I guess. Yeah. So maybe Geraldo is one of those dumb.
Yeah, Geraldo's one of those dumb things. So Jerry starts breaking up with Joel. The thing about it drives me nuts when they do this in shows and movies and stuff like that. But like, Jerry starts breaking up with Joel, and they haven't even ordered their food yet. Like, I'm like, what's your exit strategy here, bro?
Well, especially since later in the episode, him and George are talking about after the breakup, they eat. George continues eating.
Yeah.
So it would have been like that same thing. Like, so what are they going to do then? Just eat there with 20 minutes?
Sit there eating their turkey roll with one another. Like, this is our last meal. Enjoy it. Because it's over after this, buddy. It's just so confusing. It's like, in my mind, I'm like, how is that going to work out for you?
But also working in a restaurant, I have had breakups happen, you know, at the table, and it almost exclusively happens right at the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
like
wild.
People will, like those, you know, there's girls or women, whatever the right word is to say, but, you know, crying visibly at a table. And like afterwards, like, or right before that happened, you just see like the guy get up from the table and then just walk out the restaurant, and he never comes back, you know, like. So it's almost like they go to the restaurant, they sit down at a table, they order drinks, he breaks up with her, leaves, and then she's like devastated at the table. I've seen it more than a few times.
That is the exact same thing as those people who drive out in the middle of nowhere, kick their dog out of the car, and then drive back home. It's like, I'm leaving you at this restaurant. Don't follow me.
I swear, it's happened.
Oh wow!
And it's like almost always right at the very beginning. Like, you won't even be able to get the
bread, water,
back.
come back. We'll get our drink orders. All right, it's over.
Or they come in, they sit down, they get a drink, you know, and then as you're getting the drinks and stuff, you come back, their mood has changed suddenly. They ask for the check. One of them asks for the check and then leaves. Like, it's never like a post-meal situation.
So what are the tips like on those situations?
Oh, just remarkable.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what they're concerned about, is taking care of their humble server that is just got them a couple beverages and that's it, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting to behold.
That's funny. I won't repeat all this because we talked about this earlier, but I had the note here. I was like, I really think they wanted the next Wednesday thing to be funny, but it just isn't. It seemed like they left pauses in for laughs, but the laughs never came.
But the laughs never came. That sounds like we should be reading that in a Morgan Freeman voice.
But the laughs never, the laughs never came. I almost did a Morgan Freeman voice, and then suddenly I'm like, that's probably not a good idea, Steve. So okay, so
hey, we got to get popular somehow, Steve. Right, I don't care how you
scandal.
do it.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay, I have this redemption on my stream where people can redeem channel points, and I called it Old Sheet because it won't let me call it Old. But basically what we do is we Google something from like the 80s, 90s or whatever, and then just look at it and talk about it, watch maybe some old commercials or whatever. It started when, I don't even know how this came up, but like I was doing that just randomly on a stream because there was this toy called Balzac when I was a kid. And it's like this oblong, like egg-shaped ball thing, but really all it is like a canvas cover that you blow up a balloon inside of it, and it makes this weird shaped ball you can play with and stuff. And I read that off, and people thought that was so funny on the stream. So I was like, "Oh, we'll do a redemption for this." Well, anyways,
can I play with your ball sack, Steve?
Hey, I actually used to have a Balzac. I don't have it anymore though, but no.
I would love to play with your Balzac if you ever find it. If your wife ever gives you your Balzac back, will you let me play with
it? But today we were looking at boglins. Do you remember what boglins are?
Boglins? No, I don't.
They're these little rubber kind of like puppety looking, but they're creepy looking guys from like back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think. But anyways, I Googled boglins, and like the very first toy that popped up was like an eBay listing for some really offensive looking African-American caricature toy thing. My. And I'm like, oh, scroll. It's like,
this is not it. This is not it.
Like, get myself in trouble here. No. Don't cancel me today, please.
Yeah.
But, this will be my second near miss of a cancellation today. Steve pulled up this offensive toy, and then he talked like Morgan Freeman for a while.
And then he pulled out his Balzac.
It's my Balzac. I'm gonna put a Balzac picture down here so you guys will know what a Balzac is, because it is.
I'm gonna show you guys my Balzac right now.
It was a real thing, and it's hilarious because again, all it is like a canvas covering that you inflate a balloon inside of, and like that was the toy. It's like, that is the dumbest stuff like now. And it's like, but back then we were like, hell yeah, Balzac, you know?
Yeah, but don't you wish you were the inventor of something so like,
yeah,
you know, something so simple, but made so much money probably.
Probably, you know? Yeah. Hey, we had one, we didn't have nothing. So it had to be a pretty big deal, but.
Well, that's two things. The Howard Metro conversation. You know that Howard Metro, judging by how they enact this, is brought up every single time that they hang out. You know,
like, the guy with the
that I got the ears or whatever. You know, because so this guy must, every time that Jerry musters up the courage to hang out with Joel must have been, you know, is always like, hey, you know who I ran into?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the same guy, the same story. Like I've known people like that like they share either the same joke or the same story every time you hang out. And it's like, I get it, man. That was funny, you know, or whatever. Like, I know. I was there.
I know.
Right. Like, so I kind of made me laugh a little bit there with that. And then with the whole, like, when Jerry tries to break up with him and he's like, I want to know what I did. And Jerry's like, it's not you, it's me. That's like a whole kind of preface to the George and the papier-mâché chick later with the chopstick. She's like, no, I wouldn't know. I want you to tell me. Yeah. But initially, you know, George is like, it isn't you, it's me. You know, and that's when he's like, I invented the whole it's you, it's me. So it just kind of it's kind of like a precursor to that setup of just Jerry trying to do that. It's not you, it's me.
It's funny you mentioned that because I had that same thought, but I forgot to write it down apparently. But yeah, this is the first appearance of it's not you, it's me, which will make many more appearances in Seinfeld.
Many more appearances. And then my least favorite line of the show is the "Go see his show."
See, I love that part.
God, I hate, because no one would do that in real life. That is not a human reaction, I don't think. You know, in the middle of the moment, you're just gonna start screaming at strangers in a restaurant, like
telling everyone to go see his show. Yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of thought that was funny. It's like I said, this one's a kind of a goose egg of an episode, but like that was one of the lines that I was like, yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
But yes, so that's all I wanted to say about that. Was Howard Metro obviously is an old joke that won't die.
So Jerry
and go see his show.
So Jerry and George at the bank. The pins on the chains with no ink. That makes me more laugh than almost any other. Makes me laugh more than almost any other part in this episode. I think
the most relatable for sure.
It's so stupid. Do they even do that anymore? Pins on the chains?
No, I mean not anymore, but it was definitely a thing.
Yeah, it's like pins are so expensive that we cannot afford to not anchor them to the desk. It's just like, what in the hell? But
we're gonna know if you steal this pen, buddy.
Yeah, really. The pins on the chains, they always cracked me up even as a kid. And so like them going through like 5 pins before they find one that actually works, I thought that was pretty hilarious. But
did you notice that George is wearing the same sweater from the apartment episode where they're at the coffee shop and he's bitching about the chews?
That's true. He was wearing that. No, I did not realize that. But now that you mention it, yeah, he's wearing that same sweater because I thought that sweater
is hideous.
It's hideous.
Yes.
It pisses me off because it's another reminder that we're still sort of dealing with successful George. It's like he's
right.
not the miscreant that he eventually evolves
miscreant
into.
There's that word again.
Yeah, see, I did that for your benefit there, but
for my benefit, thank you.
But yeah, that stupid sweater. Oh my gosh. It's he needs to cut the sleeves off of that and wear that sleeveless. I think that they get more of a Beastie Boys kind of thing going on there. But yeah, wearing that sweater was like, oof, man.
It's a statement right there.
I don't know that I've ever had unbelievable egg salad.
That's exactly what I said. I have can egg salad be unbelievable? ?
I love eggs. I love egg salad. I don't think I've ever had unbelievable egg salad. I don't even know that it's really in the cards to make unbelievable egg salad.
No. And like, what would you put in it to make it unbelievable? You know, what's the secret ingredient there?
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, certainly not just sit after a breakup. I'm not like, oh man, I can't leave without eating this egg salad sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say one thing that we tried out one time that my wife, I think it's because there's a local place that did that, but mixing some curry in with the egg salad. If you like curried egg salad is pretty good. But I still don't know that I would call it unbelievable. It's
unbelievable?
Good. It's good. It's not unbelievable. It's very believable, but it's good.
It's very believable.
George is really upset, vocally upset that Jerry gave away his ticket. While it's highly likely that Jerry bought the ticket himself in the first place. It's like all these people mooch off of him constantly.
It is very true. Well, millionaire Jerry can afford it.
Millionaire Jerry. # millionaire Jerry. Yeah.
You know, if anybody can get it, millionaire Jerry can do it.
And Jerry is just like, George is inconsolable, and Jerry is like trying to make it up to him. But yeah, George is just pissed off. Jerry and George are talking, even shouting at points across everyone else that's in line at the bank.
For sure.
That shit pisses me off. It's when people like have no consideration for the other people that are in the area with them that are having to bear witness to their lives. It's like, dude, lots of overacting going on in this scene. I don't know if you noticed this, but
yeah,
George is upset after Jerry's already told him, and they've already kind of been shouting and whatever. And George to the bank teller says, "Can you change this into bills?"
They did it to me before. He says,
"Change this into bills." And like, this is a really aggressive hand movement to be right in the face of a woman who's the bank teller. And she's like, "I'm sorry, sir. I can't do that."
Yeah.
I'm like, geez, people calm down here. Like, what the hell's going on? Just ask her if she can do it. And if she says no, then whatever. But yeah.
Oh, come on. They've done it for me before.
Before.
And then he's like, what, you want me to quit my job? Like, well, what? So you don't want to do it because it would be very, tedious and time consuming, but yet you have no qualms bringing your bucket of change to the lady and doing like you do it right now while there's people in line and everything.
Should I quit my job? Yeah.
Well, You won't have one for too much longer, George. Don't worry.
Right. Well, and if you look at that woman's face as it's fading into the next scene, like she's got a real like look on her face. It's just like, oh man.
Well, and
like,
she should too, because George is a dick, and that's
George is being a dick. Yeah, very consistently here. But yeah, anyways, like I said, just so much overacting going on in that scene, it felt like.
yeah.
And I'm just going to say this since we're about halfway through here. Adam and I love Seinfeld with all of our hearts. So we're not on these old episodes. We're just discussing them, offering criticism. Maybe as
Critically?
critiquing. We're critiquing. Yes. Critiquing. Anyways, so I don't know why that word grabbed me.
Critiquing the crooks.
Critiquing these crooks. More stand-up again. Very short stand-up sequence. Still no music. The only note that I had was online. Have you known this about East Coasters? How they stand online? They don't stand in line. Have you noticed that?
I have not noticed that.
People, specifically, I would think, say from New England, the Northeast or whatever, they stand online, not in line, which makes them sound stupid. I'm just kidding. Maybe not all the way kidding, but a little bit.
You really have something with like people from Boston and everything. Because you said,
right. Are you online, on the line that's clearly visible here on the ground? Makes a lot of sense, New Yorkers. Yeah, anyways.
The only thing that I have for this is that his whole joke of the laughing all the way to the bank and going through the maze, that's a pretty good bit. I laughed pretty hard at that because it is true. No one laughs going to the bank. So that whole phrase that we've all said it, but no one's actually done it. And then we've all had to go through the damn maze.
Yeah, the velvet ropes.
Yeah, of just you have to go through the thing. Could you give me a piece of cheese? I'm almost to the end. Like, all right, Jerry, I'll give that one to you. That was a good bit.
I don't know if this is further remnants of the pandemic or whatever, but like my bank doesn't even have drive-up tellers anymore. Like it's either you use the ATM or you go inside and talk to someone.
Wow.
But yeah, they I was thinking about this because when I opened the account when I was in college, I've had this account since I was in college, but like the part of how my account worked was I only got to go up to the drive-up tellers or go inside, I think, to actually deal directly with a teller. Like I think like twice a month maybe, or maybe it was less than that, or I would have to pay bank fees for it. But so I'm just like, the banks are just doing more and more to like keep you like, we don't want to have to talk with you. We don't want you.
And I respect that.
Yeah, right. It's
good
just
on
so
you, bank tellers.
Like I said, they even shut down the drive up, so you don't even have that anymore. I was like, get the fuck out of here, people. Just give us your money and go home. Yeah, get online. Back at Jerry's apartment, the idea of George rolling all those coins is so funny to me. I wish they would have made that the entire episode, is George trying to roll all those coins and then just stuff happening.
Like the whole time, like every time he gets close to completing a roll, he forgets his count, or somebody knocks it out of his hand or something. Well, and like that.
He's counting out coins and Jerry interrupts him. Did you notice that? Like he interrupts. He's like, what can I do to make it up to you? It's like, first of all, wait till I'm done rolling these stupid coins, man.
Right. I gotta respect the fact that George is willing to roll them in the first place, because you figure like as soon as he found out that he would have to do it, he'd be like, all right, well, I'm not doing that. I'll just, take a handful, put them in my pocket, and leave it for the tip of the waitress at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
That would be a George move, I think, versus taking the time to physically roll them. Yeah. Did you notice that he's not wearing a fanny pack in this scene?
Yeah. Wait, was he wearing it at the bank?
No, but I just mean like in any kind of casual atmosphere, the fanny pack is now gone. So Jerry Zinger of the Small Animal Digestion must have really rode home.
Oh, I can't wear this in front of Jerry anymore.
Yeah, right.
So the guys start talking about Hornet crying. I wrote that down, I guess, because of like people crying, like dealing with people when they're crying. Nobody's comfortable with that.
No.
No. And so Jerry starts breaking up with Joel, whatever. Joel starts crying, and Jerry immediately caves.
George the man wept.
The man wept. What was it? No, maybe I think it's when he's talking to Elaine where he's like, with mucus included or whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
But
then once again, George is piling on the guilt to Jerry about his ticket that he probably didn't even pay for.
Didn't even pay for, right?
George is really all about making people feel bad about the wrongs that are done against him, doesn't he?
Uh-huh.
Loves that.
He loves it. This is the first time we hear of Kramer's Pizza Place where you make your own pie. We hear of that in future episodes as well. Would you have any interest in going to a pizza place where you make your own pie?
So I wrote down that I have no idea how I would handle the pizza dough enough to make it a decent pizza. Like if I tried to do it, it'd have air bubbles everywhere. It would look it wouldn't even be good. I'd much rather leave that to the professionals,
Yeah.
Now, I could see it like a Chipotle kind of deal where you have they take the pizza and they go down the list of toppings and then you either do it yourself or you can tell what you want and then you build it and then they put it in for you, or whatever. The appeal of me physically tossing the dough and putting it in the oven does not sound like it would be something I would want to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that at all. And the reason why is because if I'm going to eat a pizza, I want it to be a good pizza. And there's no part of me that's like, this is the best pizza because it's the pizza I made myself. It's like,
and
no.
I helped.
You know why? Because I'm not 6. I want a good pizza. Give me a professional pizzaman to make my pizza for me.
A pizzaman.
Yeah. Saul pizzaman.
A distinguished pizzaman.
I don't know if you noticed this particular thing, but Jerry stands up. I have something to say. With all due respect, I can't imagine anyone in any walk of life, in any circumstance, wanting to make their own pizza pie. But that's just me. Doesn't that line feels like it had a whole lot of build-up?
Yeah,
a whole lot of build-up for absolutely nothing. No payoff at the end. But
I thought the same thing.
I kept thinking, I'm like, oh, where's he gonna go with this? And then he ends up like, that's it. Okay.
That was worth standing up for, and making.
I have to say something. No, you don't, Jerry.
No, you don't.
You might have something you want to say, but you're
not for me.
Anything.
Same thing. Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how Kramer has a thing about leaving his hand through the door as he's leaving?
No.
He does this in multiple episodes. And I noticed this at one point because I saw it and I'm like he got so close to having his hand shutting the door. But Jerry, he's like, I think he's pointing at them saying, you'll want to make your own pie. And he's walking away and the door is closing and his hand is still through the door and he doesn't pull it out until the last second. Watch future episodes of the show looking for that. And you'll notice that he does that several times.
I'm going to be listening for music and stand-up scenes and watching Kramer's fingers from here on out.
And looking for reused
crowd
shots of the people. Yeah, exactly. When I'm editing, I'm going to make the list of those things on screen for you guys so you can be watching for them. So later, Jerry and Elaine are at Jerry's place. They're bored. They're trying to figure something out. Jerry says they can go to a coffee shop because those places just let you sit there.
This whole conversation is just dumb, though.
Yeah. I'll go if I don't have to talk. What the hell?
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? Yeah. Get out of here. Go home. Go to bed or something. Surely you have work tomorrow.
Yeah, no one does that. No one's like, you just want to go somewhere else other than here and sit in silence.
Yeah.
No one does that.
Yeah, this is another one of those things where I'm just like, this is a non-conversation. It's a non-versation.
Non-versation. It does not happen in the real world.
Yeah.
And then she finds Jerry's Rolodex of excuses and then comes up with some of her own excuses. And I don't know if she was making these excuses to be just lame just for the sake of saying excuses because excuses are lame, but she comes up with some really bad ones.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
You know, I can't leave the house. I don't have any underwear.
Yeah, I couldn't
What?
tell, and I'll tell you my opinion at least on why that is so. I don't know if I want to use the word confusing or whatever, but it's because it's not funny enough to be a joke. So it's like, is she saying this seriously, or is this like she's
Like it's
effing
supposed
with
to be dumb.
Jerry a little bit or whatever?
Yeah.
But like, it would either make more sense if they weren't funny at all and were legitimate suggestions, or if they were actually funny suggestions, but instead they're just ridiculous.
Yeah, what's the other one? He has multiple personality disorder, and he's Dan.
He's
and
Dan.
not Jerry.
That one I actually thought was funny though.
I'm Dan today.
I'm Dan today. I don't know why, but that one kind of got me. Just so, okay, like she goes through the list. Jerry's like, well, what can I do? Elaine says, deal with it. Be a man. Jerry says, oh no, that's impossible.
Oh, no.
I'd rather lie to him for the rest of my life than go through that again. Kind of goes back to that whole thing you were talking about before, where it's like, are you the sort of person that's going to be lying to someone for the rest of their life, or are you actually going to have the difficult conversation with them?
And then once you get through that, you're free of it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to do it anymore. Now, what you were going back to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, and this is relationship talk more than anything, I guess, but like, there's never any talk about Jerry having ever tried to set this guy straight before. Like, they just talk about, like, essentially him, quote unquote, breaking up with Joel, but he never says, like, Joel, I can't stand to be around you because you're an with servers and you don't listen to me when I talk or whatever. That, and I think maybe that's why I didn't have an answer for you on that question before, is that's the conversation I would have before breaking up with someone that I've known for decades. Is like, dude,
that's fair.
You're not treating me with respect. What the hell, So.
Or members of the wait staff.
Exactly.
Now, going back to your comment about how Jerry stands up and like makes his announcement joke, and it's kind of like, why is that there? What is that whole deal with her, like, where she talks about how she's kicked a guy in the nuts and she got the cab or something, or she still got the cab, and then Jerry's like, a couple of tough monkeys. And then they look at each other and they laugh, but like the crowd does not laugh.
Did the crowd not laugh? Okay,
I don't think they do.
I thought they did, but maybe I'm wrong.
Or if they do, it's like a very like a dull roar of like, and I'm like, what kind of joke is that?
I'll tell you a suspicion that I have, because I have a point here. It says, couple of tough monkeys, in quotes, WTF LOL. That's what I had written down. But no, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there are other lines in the show, not in this particular episode, but like where the word monkey comes up, where it's like, people don't say that. It makes me wonder if someone wasn't like, it's not a thing where they're trying to like slip in the word monkey in so many episodes or something like that. Because I've known
this was a bet amongst the writers or something.
Yeah, it's like, I bet you can't get the word monkey in this many episodes or whatever. It makes me wonder about that. Because a couple of tough monkeys. Who in the world says that?
No one.
It makes no sense, and that's why probably nobody laughed. But no, watch out for that as well. We should add that to the list of things to watch out for. There are times when they use monkey that make no sense. But I remember there's multiple lines where this happens in the show.
Yeah.
Elaine likes the pizza idea. She wants to make her own pie.
Yes.
I found that a little surprising, because generally, if one of them thinks Kramer's being a psycho, like they all do, and just kind of count him off or whatever. But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting that she liked the make your own pie, whatever the heck.
Yeah.
Joel walks in immediately laying on the creeper vibes.
Yeah, and Elaine's immediately like, okay, well, this guy's a douche. You can tell
Yeah,
because
you can
she's
tell she's
like,
like doing the math real quick.
yeah, and she's like, all right, I'm on the excuse train now. You
Uh-huh.
know, like, but once again, the excuses that she comes up with to Joel's face are terrible
It's
excuses.
like choir practice. I'm like,
Yeah, we have to
Jerry
go
is
see if
in
we're
the
gonna be
choir.
organ donors. What the hell?
Yeah, these are ridiculous excuses.
And then Joel's like, I should really look into something like that.
Yeah, he's still like, you know what? I should look into organ donation. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
What?
Um, yeah, it's crazy. But no, you're right. Yeah, her suggestions are ridiculous. Joel's a huge creep. Jerry's in the choir apparently with Elaine. But no, this was a note that I had that I did not think of until like right before we went live to record this episode here. But Hornet keeps suggesting nights for them to go to basketball games. I would sit next to Stalin if it meant I could go to see a basketball game from this era, because to me, this is the golden age of basketball in the NBA. I don't know if you were into the NBA back then, but holy hell, it was popping off everywhere you looked. Like, they were talking about,
a lot of star power, that's for sure.
Tons. And the Michael Jordan, this is the era of Jordan. He even mentions Jordan in the conversation.
You can't miss Air Jordan.
Man, I was obsessed with the NBA back during this time.
And they were two rows behind the bench. They were getting sweat on.
Yep, they were getting sweat on, Georgie. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I would gladly sit next to him to go see a game from this era. When I was a kid, I forget what when this was or even what the outcome was. Just the situation itself was so cool. This was back in that era when, like I said, I was absolutely obsessed with the NBA in this time. I went to spend some time in the summer. Me and my brother both did with my cousins up in Colorado. And they were also really into basketball. Their uncle, like they went to this church, and my uncle, their dad, he ran like the soundboard, for them. Yeah. And a lot of these churches will have like that, the sound or the media area. It'll be like in kind of like a bird's nest thing up here away from everybody. Well, he let us go up there with him while he was running the sound for the church service and watch the NBA finals on a little TV during church, and that was the coolest. Like I remember being like, this is it doesn't get any better than this, man. Like just losing my mind. I'm like, but this was during that era, because I remember the Phoenix Suns were in the finals. Charles Barkley, baby. Oh my gosh, but yeah. I would definitely go to a basketball game with Joel Hornick if I could go to a game from this era. So,
especially if you were Millionaire Jerry and you could afford the tickets that were 2 rows behind the bench.
Malcolm, Millionaire Jerry can afford anything. Sheesh.
For sure. I mean, Millionaire Jerry.
Final stand-up sequence. Do you have music in this one? Some friends are always your friends. He says. I thought that was an interesting kind of thing. Is that like, I don't know. I don't have any friends like that where I would say some friends are always your friends and kind of shrug, because like I have friends that have been lifelong friends to me, and like I can still go hang out with them and it's exactly like I never left. I think that's awesome. But, it's kind of funny because basically his whole point being that like when you got that much history with someone, you're just kind of stuck with each other, I mean, I don't even necessarily mean that in a bad way, but like,
right.
Yeah, you got a lot of history with someone. You guys have a bond that you like really no one else will ever have. And it's just like for me, those old friends that I'm talking about, they, even though our lives have kind of parted in ways, and we all have different interests and different family lives and careers and whatever, none of that stuff really matters, because at the end of the day we have all this history and stuff, and so it always kind of feels like stepping back in time with hanging out with those people, because like it's like I'm almost like I'm not me now, I'm me from 3 decades ago when I still lived there, you know. But did you have anything to say on this final segment here?
The only thing that I have written down for this outro, because I literally could not think of anything, is sums up awkward friendships. It's the only line that I have. And I mean, really, it's all I got.
And not a bad point though, because yeah, that's it. You know, it's a good way to sum that up. So thinking back, and remember, out of 10, we need to do an Ovaltine rating for this one. And I thought about this the last time we rated the last episode. I was like, shoot, I should have gone back and looked at the other ones, because like, I don't want to like give one a rating that's higher than another when I really feel like it should be lower than that one. I always rate them just on their own merit, but I also want to be consistent as well. So anyhow, giving this a rating out of 10 Ovaltines, how many you want to give this one?
I'm struggling between a 4.5 and a 5.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the two. I feel like I'm trying to remember what I gave the pilot. Did I give the pilot a 5.5 or a 4.5?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. It was like, was one of the, because I feel like it's almost on level with the pilot for me.
Well, I can.
So I want to make sure that it's kind of roughly about that. So I guess I should probably just go with 5 overall. Yeah.
How about this?
Like that's in the middle.
You give it a 5, I'll give it a 4, and that'll end it at a 4.5.
4.5. Okay, that's fair, because it's not very good.
No, it's not.
By Seinfeld standards, to be
yeah. And I feel good about that rating. So yeah, I'll give it a 4. You give it a 5, totaling it a 4.5. I feel okay with that, because even the audience, I don't think really thought this episode was that funny. Like I said, there's so many sequences where it's like people say stuff and you know there's supposed to be a laugh there, but it just ain't there. You know, I don't know, maybe if they were just struggling to get people in the audience, and so it didn't sound like that big of a hit because there wasn't that many people there, or if it was just the people weren't digging what they were seeing. But not
couple of tough monkeys.
Yeah, couple of tough monkeys. That should be we should put that in the thumbnail. Couple of tough monkeys. No, I don't know.
And then obviously referring to us, because we're some pretty tough monkeys.
we're some tough monkeys. Well, anyways, one thing before we close down here, sadly, I don't know if you heard about this. This week we lost Raquel Welch.
Oh, Welch, yeah.
What a bummer.
My buddy Greg, who's commented on previous Seinfeld episodes, actually messaged me about it. He said, man, the Seinfeld groups are going to be in an uproar this week. Raquel Welch just passed away. And I was like, oh, no, you're so right.
A buddy of mine tweeted me to tell me about that, because he's a big Seinfeld fan as well. And, he knows about the show and all that and stuff. So he told me about it, and I responded saying, those aren't buoys, with the smiley face with the tear coming down.
He sent me a picture from the group, and it was it's a picture of George, and it said, for the 600 people posting that Raquel Welch has passed, and it's George going, I'm aware.
Oh man, what a bummer.
Yeah, for sure. I remember her from my memory of Raquel Welch is from Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah,
because she's on the poster,
right?
And Morgan Freeman makes it was lovely Raquel, and that's just immediately where I go. But then when I saw the episode of Seinfeld that she's in, I was like, oh yeah, huh?
Oh yeah.
I'm aware.
I'm aware.
But I am excited for the next episode. It's the season finale of season 1, and I think it's the best one of the season for sure. So that'll be a good one.
I am excited to wrap up season 1. I'm ready to get on to season 2, because as we get on to season 2, we're getting closer to season 3, which is where I really think it started taking off.
For sure.
Of course,
so bear with us, Legion of Followers. It's coming.
It's coming, y'all. It's coming. Hey, if there's any thoughts or suggestions or anything for the show, please certainly feel free to leave those in the comments. Chime in on whatever. We talk about a lot of different points here. I mean, good Lord. I've got probably 50 points in my notes about this. So a lot of points made here. Please feel free to chime in. We love hearing from you guys.
Yeah. If you agree with us, if you don't agree with
yeah,
us,
hey,
if
even
you
if
have
you
a
don't.
different, if you have something new entirely that you'd like to add, please let us know because we enjoy any and all interaction there for sure.
Absolutely. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you enjoyed, like if you enjoyed. If you didn't enjoy, then don't feel like you have to do that. But obviously, we would appreciate it if you did. We appreciate all you guys watching.
Bouillabaisse for thought.
A bouillabaisse. Yeah, come on in and we'll make a bouillabaisse for everybody. So, so funny. The funniest of all soups. I think it's
the funniest soup there is.
Yeah, that's a big matzo ball. No, you guys have a great day, and we will hope to see you on the next. Welcome to Del Boca Vista.
Hoochie Mama.
Serenity now. Oh my gosh.
You're not throwing away my water pick. You're giving away my water pick.
Serenity now, insanity later.
But